Let's talk about Major General Smedley Butler. The most decorated Marine of all times, and he actually operated in a theater we don't really talk about much. It was the Banana Wars down in Central America. He didn't like what he was dealing with, but he did it anyways. And when he came back, he was so respected by every veteran that the people on the outside who were not veterans, the people on the outside who thought they could just take advantage of that situation because they had a badass sales pitch, right? Came to Major General Smedley Butler and approached him in a manner where they would set him up with a position of authority because they thought that the veterans who got the shitty end of the stick would march up right behind him. I would like to note that this all happened in the same time frame that Hitler was pretty much installed, and so was Mussolini. So that whole fascism thing everybody's scared of, the first thing I would do if I was trying to do something like that is lie to you about what I'm doing in the first place. Yes, I've observed a lot of shit and I could take over your fucking country. I don't need guns and bombs, Mr. Biden. I need to win the hearts and minds of your people. So, Major General Smedley Butler, who wrote War is a Racket, was approached by businessmen. And their ideal was to do a coup. It would be a false president and then like a secretary that pretty much took care of everything. So that is fascism. Okay? What he did was ride that pony until he decided to jump off of it. He didn't ride it into the ground. He didn't ride it to where it was going. He rode that pony and then jumped off of it. And had a congressional hearing in which, that is a guy, I don't care what politician you are, when you're dealing with somebody like Major General Smedley Butler, who is a Marine and is the most decorated Marine in history. When you say most decorated in military history, that's one thing, but when you say most decorated Marine in history, that is something else. There was a lot of respect for that guy anyways. He took all of that whole entire situation, and took it to the congressional floor, and it got swept under the rug. It really did. But note, in fact, that we're very powerful. We deal with lobbyists every day. Most of our health problems come from fucking lobbyists. Investigate that noise. But anyways, we deal with lobbyists today, every day. Why? Because what Major General Smedley Butler did, we got swept under the floor. Because what did Major General Smedley Butler address? He addressed the coalition of big corporations, Fortune 500 companies, working, coinciding, cooperating with government. At a time, there's no coincidence there, because when I do a maneuver, I set everything up. Actually, now that I think about that, I guess that's something I want to take notes on. But what they did was they thought it was going to be a cold, clean cut, and they got Hitler here with his masses of military products. Nazis died because they're ignorant as fuck. If they were not so proud and arrogant, and they did not sit there and abuse their means of their encrypted means of communication, the Allies would have never had a chance to break them. In fact, they lost because they're arrogant, proud, dumb. Now Mussolini, he was the second factor. And America was supposed to be the third factor. It didn't work out because of Major General Smedley Butler. Because when he pulled down, they had to shut the fuck up. At what point do you think that all of these people, because I will paraphrase Emma Goldman as stating that you're mistaken if you think a man of good character can do anything in a political environment because he has a financial master, your banks. See, there was a big movement against centralizing the banks in the United States of America, and that is why. That's your first step to corporate power, consolidate the money. Was why consolidate the money? Because everybody needs fucking money, and if you control the money, you control the country. You can take that back to Wall Street heritage. Rothschild pretty much knew he had a runner who pretty much told him that Waterloo lost, and he allowed people to believe something while he took advantage of that situation. And after that, he said, I do not care who makes the laws as long as I own the money. That was all recent history for Major General Smedley Butler, who clearly was not for what he was doing, but had the discipline to carry through on what he had to do because he gave a fuck about his soldiers. That's what I would say. I'm not going to let these guys die because you guys made a decision, right? And when he came back, he denied an opulous opportunity. He could have been set up looking like a king. He didn't do it. Why? Because he fought for something greater than himself. We have a lot of problems to address. We have a lot of things to make sense out of. People keep throwing wrenches in our engine because they want to fuck it up. We have a constitution that prevents them from doing it. And if we don't utilize it, that constitution dies. And then what do you have? You have rule of man, not the removal of the rule of man. If you look historically at how dictatorships and stuff like that have worked, rule of man means I have an entire police force. Our problem is police force, right? I have an entire police force. And when you get beyond, when you break the psychology, you end up indoctrinating the military, right? Because it starts with the police force. Historically, it's always been the police force that is that grounds. But when you slide down that liberty tree to the point you go beyond democracy, beyond socialism, you end up in dictator oligarchy. There's no such thing as one person ruling. He has a group of people working with him. He's probably more scared of them than he is of you. But that starts with the police force and it is followed through by the military. And in order to do that, you have to instill a police force who will uphold your rule. That is why I support a social contract. Because that gives me the right. And, gives me. When you say right, that was mine anyways. So the social contract creates a barrier. This right here. You see that? Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. That's not what you're doing. Yeah, now we have a problem. That's the difference. Because or else it results in a bunch of fucked up shit nobody wants to really do. Actually, unless you've lost your fucking mind. And we can go back to private intelligence companies and private military contractors because I don't respect you. You have the ability to make situations or decisions in situations. I did way too much work dealing with you and trying to influence you to do another thing out of respect for everything I have told you. I don't think you really fucking gave a shit because you assumed a victory. That's how you fail. So, what did we learn from this? We've already been operating against these forces that are trying to overtake pretty much public opinion. Because in order to run any show, you have to overtake the public opinion. That is a fact. There's a lot of ways to do this. Yes, we are human beings. Yes, we are subject to persuasion. But that is your personal responsibility. There is a reason that it is illegal to fly a Nazi flag in Germany.